Alright, guys, we're here. Now, whatever you do, don't blink.
Bill?
Don't look away, and absolutely do not blink.
This is an audio call. We can't even see each other.
Oh, well then. We're doomed. Good luck. This is Blink, written by Stephen Moffat.
Okay.
Welcome, one and all, to episode 60 of an Unearthly podcast, featuring Blink and recording live in front of a Twitch audience on June 20, 2014. I am the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Hey!
You have a nickname now.
Oh boy, just what I've wanted. Now I'm one of you.
Yes, you're now a nerd. Well, welcome, nerd.
In Doctor Who at the Awards, which seems to be the new unescapable segment on this show, former Doctor Who executive producer Julie Gardner, also known as The Other One of the band formerly known as Russell T Davies and The Other One, and Jack Harkness actor John Barrowman have received MBEs, which essentially makes them mini knights. Padawans, perhaps. I'd have linked us to the BBC for this news, but sadly, like everybody else, they seem to have forgotten that Julie Gardner exists.
Oi.
Oh, that's a shame.
Aw.
Well, I know the
forget.
fact that John Barrowman was already declared a national treasure of England. I'm not kidding.
He is super shiny.
I'd heard that one.
It was somewhere back when he was doing, what was it, Britain's Got Talent or Strictly Come Dancing or something like that. You know, when he was basically considered the big thing in British pop culture. And so now he's made the Order of British Empire.
Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant are sitting there like, you'd be nothing without us.
Yes. Neither one of them have made the Order of British Empire, have they?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, they've probably been too busy working. From what I saw, his receiving of it was as much for his charity work as it was for his entertainment work.
Ah, that would make sense.
Mm.
Yeah, he's a relatively generous person. And you really think about it, it's also a very odd honor because John Barrowman was born, American. He's been raised in England for most of his life, but he was born in Chicago.
I thought he was born in... Wasn't he, like, Scottish?
No, Tennant was Scottish.
No, I'm pretty sure he was Scottish.
I remember there was a story that that John Barrowman wanted to wear a kilt to, like, the prom or something, and his girlfriend broke up with him because of it or something like that.
That also the fact that...
Okay, he was actually born in Glasgow, raised in the United States. Sorry,
okay,
my bad.
that's what I thought.
Smack your tender ear.
And Scotland is part of the UK, right? Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
How do I
Scotland.
forget that sketch? How do I forget that sketch?
We're going to have words with you, laddie.
We'll have to take you around the woodshed.
He's not English, but he's British.
Yes.
Now I have to say, I wonder, does he add MBE after Captain Jack Harkness to pick up additional strange?
No, because John Barrowman got the order, not Jack Harkness.
True, but
If Jack Harkness got an MBE, it would be from Liz the 10th.
I still could just see him. Hi, Captain Jack Harkness, MBE.
If he was given the chance to, he probably would.
Yeah. If I get to talk to him,
I don't know though. He doesn't need to add that to his own name for a pickup line. This is just hi. I'm Jack Harkness. It's a pickup line enough.
Still,
If he plays it right, yes.
If I do get the chance to actually speak with him at Boston Comic Con, I'm going to ask him something along those lines, just to see his response. Now I want to mention Julie Gardner a bit. For those who aren't really familiar with her, basically, she wasn't as in front of the camera as much as Russell. She wasn't, the huge fan that puts everything out in front. But
I saw her quite frequently.
Behind the scenes, she was as essential as Russell in bringing back Doctor Who and keeping it running for the 5 years that they had control.
If only to keep Russell moving.
Yeah, and
go to YouTube and search for the Ballad of Russell and Julie.
And I know in Russell, essentially, she was also a large part of keeping Russell focused on business rather than being only a fan. I'm trying to remember specific anecdotes, but I remember Russell describing things where essentially, they definitely liked and disliked different things, but she could definitely look at it as something, this is what we need to make the show successful, rather than only, this is what we need to make the fanboys happy.
Like
she
I
worked
said,
on the Miss Bradley mysteries.
Like I said, Ballad of Russell and Julie, as narrated by John Barrowman and performed by David Tennant and Catherine Tate.
Nice. And I believe she was executive producer of all the spin-offs as well, along with Russell, right?
Yep.
Probably.
Yes.
Doctor Who,
While
Torchwood,
she was-
Exploding Adventures.
Yeah, following that, though, she retired, I think, as her big thing, because she was basically the head of BBC Wales, if I recall, and then somewhere during there she became head of BBC One. And then she stepped...
Sorry.
And then she stepped down after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
she had a baby. The father of her baby is sound recordist Julian Howard. Her baby was born in 2010.
That would explain why she.
That's
in 09.
right around the time she left Doctor Who.
She had a wee one. Yeah, her hands are probably full.
See now, if the father was some Nick Briggs has a wife and kids, so it couldn't have been him. But I feel like it should have been more along, the epic lines of Doctor Who, building toward the inevitable chosen one.
Yeah, well, considering how much of a womanizer he was, it wouldn't have been surprising if it was David Tennant. I swear that man dated every female co-star he had at one point or another.
Another reason why I'm not too fond of him.
But mind you, you need to separate the actor from the character, because there's a lot of actors that are not pleasant people.
True.
At least
Not
his
Bill
Murray. Apparently, Bill Murray is awesome, but there's a lot of people. Apparently, Donald Sutherland, an actor who I like, is a real bastard off this camera.
No, the thing is that I don't think that's possible with Doctor Who. I think every actor brings a little bit of themselves into the Doctor. I think that's what makes it such an important thing for people.
Well, David Tennant did date pretty much every female character David Tennant's Doctor did kind of date every female character that was on screen with him.
Yeah, he, every female companion he had pretty much fawned over him, with the exception of Donna Noble.
Well, mind you, that
like
wasn't the fault of Tennant. That was the fault of the writers. Particular Russell T Davies.
He could have probably talked to him about it, but
Well, that was just that was their beginning stage. They were going through a phase at the time.
Although, was it David Tennant that the BBC had said that they were expecting someone sexier and they wanted him replaced. No, that was
No.
Matt, or was that Matt Smith?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Might be Matt Smith.
No, I thought it
Was-
was Peter Capaldi. When they chose Peter Capaldi,
No,
there was
it
an
wasn't.
uproar that he wasn't young and he was.
No,
he
but
was
I
too
don't think
old
the
or something.
I don't think the BBC was the one that had complained had.
Yeah, I don't think BBC complained about him. I think it was the fan base that complained about him,
Yeah,
and that's mostly the new
complained
fangirl
about
base.
Capaldi.
Mhm.
Where's my young, sexy doctor?
And on that note, let's go on to birthdays because birthdays are back.
the big way.
Carol Ann Ford celebrated her 74th birthday on June 16th.
She's
So-
getting on. Come on,
Yep,
So,
and
let's
she's-
see.
bring her back.
Doctor
she's-
Who just hit 50 last year.
Yeah,
Carolyn Ford hit 74.
and
That meant
she's
she
still
was 23 when she was playing 16-year-old Susan Foreman.
She looks
think
young
she's-
for her age.
Isn't she still playing 16-year-old Susan Foreman?
In audio, yes.
Like, I know she does sometimes play her as older, but I think she's still... Yeah, actually, yeah, because just last year they did that, the Origin trilogy, including the Doctor and Susan leaving Gallifrey for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And
Or, if not the
also,
first time, then for good.
also Destiny of the Doctor.
Yes, you're right. She was there as well.
She's
So,
there
yeah.
as her current self and as her younger self. I did notice that there was a bit of a pitch change when she did that too.
And she did what?
She did a bit of a pitch change when she was trying to play Susan during that.
Oh, when she went from narrator to voice?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she still could, though, goes to show that she has talent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, again, why hasn't she come back to the show? Come on, guys. You can bring back the granddaughter anytime now.
One day I will come back.
Yeah, we've been waiting!
Yeah, she came back in the Five Doctors.
True.
For barely more than a cameo so she could roll her ankle again.
The only I feel like it would have been more if not for the fact that they were trying desperately to make her look like she wasn't 40.
That and the fact that there were how many companions in there that they had to write for? How many doctors?
About a dozen.
And they had an hour and a half worth of footage to do it.
Yeah.
So you try writing a script with a dozen people in an hour and a half, trying to make sure each one of them gets a chance to shine, Matt.
Pretty much a dozen humans and a dozen Time Lords.
Still.
And our next one is Arthur Darvill celebrated his 32nd birthday on the 17th.
Rory!
Rory Pond.
That's not how it works. Oh, you're all pawns.
Yes, it is.
And I feel like we may have skipped over 6th Doctor Colin Baker's 71st birthday on the 8th as well. So we'll give him a shout out today.
Yes, we did.
Because Lord knows he doesn't want the attention.
No, never. Not Colin, never.
Although I have to say, I find it interesting that Carol Ann Ford is 3 years older than the person who played her grandfather 20 years after she left the role.
I think that's absolutely understandable, all things considered.
True.
When you're talking about a show that has gone on multi-generational like Doctor Who,
Yeah. Like I'm not saying like it's I'm just saying it's worth noting more than anything else.
It's also worth noting that if things continue on, she'll get too old. And again, bring her back before she's gone. Come on.
On the upside, she has not died of cancer.
Yes.
yes, but she's still 6 years away from having a good run.
Yeah, that's the other problem. She's 6 years from a good run. Come on, guys.
At least Nick Briggs is working her.
Wong.
Oh, God.
Well, to phrase that a different way, Bill.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with my mouth hanging open on that one. Just
Because, wow, Bill, the way you phrased
I
that.
thought of that, and my brain went, "Oh, wow, wow."
The funny thing, like, any way that I was going to say that sounded dirtier, so that was just my way of trying to nip it at the bud. It did
Oh
not
no,
work.
it didn't work.
It didn't work. Not at all.
It didn't work.
Wow, Bill.
And my brain is making worse.
Randy's brain is making.
He's working her hard.
Randy's brain is making fan fiction, and he doesn't want it.
He's keeping her busy on Potter's Lane.
Oh.
Speaking of Colin, though, in Classic Who news, it seems his role in the 50th anniversary celebration wasn't quite enough. Big movie star Paul McGann has actually announced a sequel to the Five-ish Doctors reboot, which is currently in production.
You're kidding.
Nope. It's real. It came out of Paul's lips.
Reboot the Paul McGann story.
The Five-ish Doctors reboot, the Paul McGann story.
So what? It's going to be about how he gets approached to do the bump, or the webisode.
No, this is supposed to be a sequel, so this is coming after that event happened. Which means Paul might actually show up for this one for more than a guest cameo.
Oh, and apparently the same original source for that quote has McGann saying that they should have casted a woman for the 12th Doctor.
Yes, I saw that too. I didn't actually read the article, but I saw that he mentioned that.
You know, that has been bandied around now for years. I mean, ever since Tom Baker, I think, was giving up the throne, it's been an on-again, off-again debate on whether the next Doctor should be a female.
And I would argue currently, with this way Doctor Who's been going lately, that right now is not the time to do it, to be honest. Maybe after Moffat's gone.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be basically River Song.
Yes, and we don't need the
Again.
Doctor to be River Song, please.
Yeah, and as much as I can agree with people saying that he's not intentionally sexist, looking at things like Blink, I can particularly say Stephen Moffat heading a show with a female lead is probably not something that would be in my top 10 list of things I want to see.
Which is a good segue to take us to the topic of tonight's conversation.
Actually, I think we have another thing to go over first. I don't know how long it's going to be, but one of our newer co-hosts has recently started watching, thanks to Netflix, by the way. If you have Netflix, it is now on there, Doctor Who Series 7.
Yay!
So, Aaron, how far have you gotten?
I've gotten up to Snowman.
So you've watched 7A, pretty much.
I've watched 7A.
Okay. So what are your thoughts?
What number was this?
It was disappointing, that's for sure. I was pretty confused by Series 6, and by 7A I was pretty frustrated. I'm like, I understand completely what Bill was saying now, when he was talking about the doctor behaving like a child with ADHD, or an old man with ADHD, I don't know what. Is that what you said, Bill?
I considered him a child with ADHD. Randy considered him a senile old man.
Yeah, if you consider the 9th Doctor to be the midlife crisis Doctor, that makes the 10th Doctor the autumn years, and it makes Matt Smith senility. And he really does kind of start showing it.
It's just, season 5 and even season 6, it was okay. I mean, he got a little eccentric in season 6, and even series 7A, it really went overboard. I think they kind of pushed it a little too far. Just the antics, him riding the dinosaur. It's really him behaving like a little boy. He's not even trying to regain his youthful years as like a 20-something. He's behaving like a child now.
Well, you do realize that
it's dinosaurs, it's cowboys versus cyborgs. It's everything that you would imagine a 10-year-old boy would enjoy fighting against, you're fighting with.
Now, mind you, I think the majority of us actually liked A Town Called Mercy.
I was actually going to. I was going to ask Erin her favorite episode without any of us telling her what our favorite was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't speak fast enough, apparently.
Yep, Randy beat you to the punch.
Yeah.
Mercy was
I would have
okay.
to say Asylum of Daleks would be my favorite of that series. I mean, it doesn't quite work with some people because they don't see any reason why the Daleks would keep their degenerates around. Like, you know, isn't the point of the Daleks to remain pure and to exterminate anything that is lesser than them? But I kind of work around that by thinking that because the Doctor has been around humans for so long, and thus the Daleks have also been around humans for so long, that they've kind of adapted some of human society. They've kind of rationalized some of their actions by what they've learned from both their experiences with the Doctor and with human society too. So I could see them probably, you know, trying to steal the better parts of human society to work with their own stuff. So I don't know.
I just think they're just minion lackeys there that are there for extra arms in case they need them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the puppets, yeah.
My
that
hatred
actually does make
not
sense.
even just the puppets.
They do that with the Cybermen as well too. Later on in was it Nightmare in Silver?
Mm-hmm.
They do that with the Cybermen too. Like the Cybermen essentially, instead of fully converting people, they just turn them into puppets.
Mind you,
Which
my
can be
hatred for Asylum of the Daleks has gone down a bit since the 50th anniversary special.
Oh,
my main
yes.
issue with it now is the fact that it was really overhyped as watch the classic Daleks in action again, and then they did nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the major flaw that we have with it. It's not living up to its trailer.
The main hype for that episode was, hey, we have a special weapons Dalek. Let's put it in the poster, put it in all the promotional materials, and then have it do jack and squat.
What was the special weapons Dalek?
It's the one with the huge cannon in the center middle.
Freaking blaster.
Oh, okay.
It was from Remembrance with Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a classic Dalek, and we don't see enough of it, and it's it's hardly ever, if at all, referenced anymore these days. And I would love to see more of it.
I actually don't remember that serial.
Oh, it's one of the best.
I don't remember Remembrance of the Daleks. Girl,
I don't
down after we move back in. We're watching that.
I don't think she watched that season yet.
Yeah, like I don't remember a lot of Sylvester McCoy. I remember like after Colin Baker made his appearance, and especially after the episode where they didn't kill Perry, but they made it look like they killed her. I pretty much stopped watching Doctor Who because it just wasn't for me anymore.
Remembrance is arguably Sylvester McCoy's best and most remembered episode. Some people will argue some of the stuff in season 26, but I still think it goes back.
The thing is that you can argue that Sylvester McCoy is a great doctor and that Colin Baker is a great doctor too, despite the stuff that he was handed as script wise. But just the experiences alone were enough to turn me off as a viewer. I didn't want to experience that anymore.
The sad thing about it is, if you had managed to hold on for another half season, the show would have pretty much started to U-turn and been a completely different show after another year.
Yeah, I remember watching a few different serials. Like I remember watching Delta and the Bannermen, and
which was a bad example.
I remember seeing Ace. I thought Ace had a friend who was Asian, an Asian girl who traveled with them, but I don't.
Nope.
No.
Huh.
She had an Asian girl friend in Survival. That when they went back to Perivale, it was a friend she looked up on, or checked up on, but that was about it.
Okay.
I don't remember any other Asian girls.
It could be that she wasn't Asian. She was just dark haired and slightly darker skinned than Ace. So, and
it was possible that she was Mediterranean, which has a nice olive skin. So.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your best and worst episode of 7A?
The one that I liked the best, I would have to say, would be Asylum of the Daleks. For the reasons I've already stated. I actually did like Osmond Oswald. Was it Osmond Oswald? Yeah, that's her name in that one.
Yes, she went by
I know it's not
Osmond
Clara.
Oswald there.
It's not Clara or Clara.
Watch the rest of Series 7 before anyone answers that.
Okay.
Well,
That's pretty much
chunks of it.
that's pretty much the whole thing about Series 7 is the quest to figure out what Osmond Oswald is.
Yeah. The worst one that I didn't like, for as much Angels Take Manhattan still managed to entertain me more than that stupid thing with the cubes.
Power of the Three.
Oh my god. Yeah, the Power of Three. What the hell was all that about?
The
thing
cube.
for me,
Cubes
Power
are
of
taking
Three
over
is
the universe,
anticlimactic.
man. They're everywhere.
Angels
It's a
Take
conspiracy.
Manhattan was at least bad enough to entertain me.
It was
I could
for
take-
me. It was just
watch
way
this
too
train
ludicrous.
wreck. I could watch this train wreck, and I did actually feel sorry when the Pods left. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's about the only good part
that's
about
the
that
only redeeming
episode.
part of the episode.
And
But
I
no,
actually
the giant-
I was actually kind of giggled when I saw the I thought it was going to be a lot more prevalent, the whole
Giant Statue of Liberty angel.
Statue of Liberty. I don't remember seeing it other than in the opening. Did it actually?
It came back in the end too.
Hear it, and at the
Yeah.
end.
Oh, okay.
And,
I guess I have to rewatch
During-
that
Statue
episode.
of Liberty
During-
Angel
During
is
the
a
scenes
good
when they
chunk
jumped
of
off
the
the
issue of
roof.
the episode.
Oh, okay.
I have an
But yeah.
entire rant on why that was not even possible.
Oh, we have an entire rant
I know
pre-built.
it's possible, but I still kind of liked it because it reminded me of Ghostbusters 2.
Actually, I think we joked about that too, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
At least the freaking thing in Ghostbusters 2 isn't supposed to pause when people look at it.
Red light, green light, red light, green light.
Yes, but this is the freaking Statue of Liberty. It's one of the most viewed tourist locations in New York.
I have to wonder though, and I might have asked this at the time, but when people climb, like during certain parts of history, people were able to climb inside the Statue of Liberty and look out of it. So did those people get angel eaten and sent back in time? And if so, why did the authorities not discover this?
Because apparently the thing only came out at night after Statue of Liberty
That's what
Island
I was just
closed.
going to mention. I was like, probably the only reason why no one saw it move and why it was able to move is because it was at night. And who's going to stare at the Statue of Liberty at night?
With no lights.
It's the ceiling that never
Especially in the
sleeps.
city that never
Someone's
sleeps.
looking at the Statue of Liberty at this point. There are like 8 million people in New York City. Someone's got to keep their eye on the Statue of Liberty.
There's always someone photographing the thing.
Yeah.
Every second of every day.
And that's
of every day.
Yeah, and that's another issue, is the fact that after the 5th season, you take a picture of an angel, it becomes an angel. So think about all those pictures of the Statue of Liberty, all those postcards.
They all got angels in them.
I forgot how they rewrote the angels back in like.
Not even that. Isn't the Statue of Liberty on some form of coinage? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, it is actually. It's
oh,
been
yeah, that's right.
minted as a coin, at least one coin.
Yeah, it's on one of the quarters.
Was it only the 2000 series quarters?
Oh,
No,
that
it
might
was-
be it. Okay.
Yeah, the 2000
Let me
series
see
of
here.
quarters for New York. Yeah.
Because it was an eagle on the back of the quarter through like ever. And New York State didn't have any particular series of coinage.
Yeah, there's that early 2000 run of different
Actually,
coins.
there's a
and,
$1
yeah.
coin with it on there.
Oh.
There's $1 coin. There's 1986 collector's coin.
Anything
There
anything
is-
before Angels Take Manhattan is set?
1986 Liberty coin. There's the torch, United States of America on the $1 silver. There's 1997 one.
So they might get away with it just by fact of all the examples you gave are after the 1930s.
Yep, and Guy, we trust the U.S. Statue of Liberty silver dollar. Let me see. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a centennial coin. 1986.
Still, there should still be a ton of
by
pictures
Oh
from
yeah,
that
and
time.
it is on the New York quarter too. as well.
But yeah,
Centennial or bicentennial coin?
Yeah, I think she meant bicentennial.
No, it says Centennial here.
Then it would
Does
be.
it give
Maybe
a
they
mint? Does it give a mint year?
Hang on. What was it called here? I got to find the. I have to find it again here. Oh, it's also gold, silver bullion. Oh, there's a half dollar with it too.
As in the
Okay.
cubes. People use
There's a
It
half
could-
dollar.
It could not be on a centennial coin. It would have to be a bicentennial coin
It could
because
be that
the statue was not finished until 1886, 10 years after the original centennial.
Okay.
it could be that is the statue itself 100 years old?
The statue itself is 100 years old now. So if they
maybe
made a
that's what you
centennial
mean,
memor for it in
Okay.
1986, then yeah. But that's still after
Yeah,
the 30s.
that sounds like the date that she mentioned. So yeah.
Oh gosh, and of course, when you know it, I can't find the freaking thing that I.
just looked at, yeah.
But there's actually a half dollar too. There's the walking half dollar or something like that.
Anywho, we
I
were
think,
trying to cover your worst episode of 7A.
Oh yeah,
I
we
think
were.
I think ATM ended up on a few people's worst lists when we did it before.
No, it's 1886
Oh, no.
to 1986
Never mind.
Statue of Liberty Sears Centennial coin token.
Never
Okay,
mind,
so
right,
yeah,
you said
that's the
you said
100
it
years of the
wasn't
statue.
You said it wasn't your worst. That's right. So you were saying Power of 3 was probably your worst then, or?
Yeah, Power 3 was my worst. Because nothing happened. Like, not even Rory's. I know everyone likes Rory's dad, or seems like Rory's dad.
That wasn't a major episode for him either. His major episode was dinosaurs on a spaceship and the deleted scene from Angels Take Manhattan.
There's
Yeah.
motherfucking dinosaurs on this motherfucking spaceship.
Yeah, it's just.
Have you been waiting the entire conversation for us to say that name so you could say that?
No, it just popped out. It doesn't help that I just finished watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
So actually, speaking of which, Aaron, have you seen that deleted scene yet?
No, I have not.
You guys need to share that deleted scene with her.
From what?
After the podcast from Angels Take Manhattan.
Yes,
Yeah.
after the podcast.
The finale bit, if we can
Yes.
find it, yeah.
Yeah.
Last I heard, it was on YouTube. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on
still on
Daily Motion
YouTube.
or
It's
something.
still on YouTube.
Yeah.
I believe our general consensus was that we mostly preferred Town Called Mercy as the top of the first half season.
Although it still wasn't
of the half
perfect.
season, I mean, it was leaning toward Angels Take Manhattan with Asylum of the Daleks as a close second for the bottom.
Yeah.
Although in
our
retrospect,
main issue with
this-
Asylum was that the whole Time War thing, they were supposed to have eradicated all of the Daleks. There weren't supposed to be any left in the universe. So how did the Doctor miss this big freaking Asylum of Daleks?
Oh no,
When
and
he did
Starro.
his final kill-all tally?
And Scarrow is back.
Starro is there, populated with a ruling class of Daleks.
That's just being the universal Kenny.
But there's also my main issue with that, honestly, this big, massive, emotional, deeply rooted issue between Amy and Rory that causes their divorce, that the Doctor waves away by saying, "Oh, you're going to get back together," and it works. The
fact that they never really explained what caused the divorce in the first place.
It was caused because
prior to the episode.
Oh yeah, prior to the episode, yeah.
Prior to the episode, yeah.
You start the episode, they're on the splits, and everyone's sitting here going, "Why?"
And
they just did a series of 5 episodes that had absolutely no indication that they were having issues.
I think Pond Life gives you the last 5 seconds of the last Pond Life shows them going in separate directions, angry at each other.
They could have done so much more with the Pond Life to make that more relevant, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Instead, they decided to do
Instead,
Ood
they
in the
decided
bath.
to have Oots on the loo.
Yeah, Ood on the loo.
Yeah.
There was a lot of what I thought was directional miscues in that.
Yeah.
have been a lot
So
of them since the beginning of 7,
so
since the end of 6.
before we start tearing Moffat apart, let's talk
Ow!
about
Why not?
Blink.
It's so much fun.
Why stop now?
Let's talk
We've
about
only been
Blink.
doing it for 3 seasons, Bill.
I'm going to give a before the well, okay. I'm going to give my version of a brief synopsis. So here we go. The Doctor is in, I forget where,
The 1960s.
and is no. The
Oh, you
Doctor is in whatever town they're in, possibly London,
London.
and is given a folder. He doesn't know why. He is then touched by an angel, ends up in the 1960s, meets a bunch of people.
Damn it, you should have had Matt cue the theme music for that.
Meets a bunch of people who he discovers names are in his folder. Who he then proceeds to use these people to send various messages to the future to a woman named Sally Sparrow, including recording a message which is then hidden into the code of every DVD that she owns. The entire line of those DVDs, because he can't tell what specific copies she will own. Just every DVD of those movies has him on it. Eventually, Sally Sparrow discovers these thanks to Larry Nightingale, who is the brother of her friend Kathy. Kathy gets sent back in time by an angel. Sally discovers the Doctor's messages, and through him discovers that, and through him saves the TARDIS from the Weeping Angels and sends them back. And that is one version of time. And now, a more human synopsis can be given.
What? I think you just tried to cover an entire episode there, but you messed up a few facts.
I was making a point about the direction of time by doing the entire episode from the Doctor's point of view.
Except it wasn't the gal that sent the information back, it was the guy.
It was Sally that handed him the folder.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
It was.
Yep.
But you were saying that the woman that was sent into the past sent information to the present, and it wasn't.
No,
it was the guy.
I said through several people because it was.
Because when you mentioned only one by name.
Kathy does give her a message, and so does the guy whose name I can't remember.
This is why everyone else needs to have this information ready, because I can't remember either. Because
The detective
names
dude,
are
what
my
was
brain.
his name?
Yeah, the detective. That's all. That would probably be the name I would give him in a review. Is just the detective
Because
guy.
time is short and you are hot.
Because time is short and you are hot.
What was his name? Shipton, wasn't it?
Yes.
Billy Shipton?
Yes, that's right, Billy.
So, am I being told that I need to do it now?
I did it last week.
Okay.
I did it before.
Well, we were also giving it the option to our new hosts.
Anyone else want to do it? Please step forward. I did it last week, so I have a bye.
That come to life when you blink. The end.
Yay!
Although we missed half of that because other people were talking.
Whoa. Okay. Can I do it?
Sure.
All right. Like I said, Blink is about a bunch of statues that come to life when you blink.
Or when they're not being looked at. They managed to get the
like
Doctor, and they're trying to get into the TARDIS because it has the exact same power that time power that they essentially feed on in order to keep themselves alive.
Yes, they're like time vampires, so to speak.
So to speak.
I want to suck your time.
Yeah,
They really
we're
like
doing this
sucking
very
on water.
shorthand, by the way, by looks of this. So, just to keep it on the shorthand, a girl and ends up showing up at the right place at the right time, takes a TARDIS key so they can't get into the TARDIS when they actually find the TARDIS. And they continue to hunt down the girl to try and get the key. They already claimed a detective who was looking in on the disappearances that happened around the Angels, and they take him as well as the girl's best friend, as far as I'm aware. She was the best friend. She seemed to be the only friend they mentioned, at least. To which, what was her name again? Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kathy keeps finding out that there are messages from some person called the Doctor warning her about angels, and also when she first gets her first message, telling her to duck. No, seriously, duck. And she finally does as she hears glass break.
No,
It
no,
looks.
that's Sally who gets the messages, not Kathy. Kathy's her friend.
Yeah.
Oh, Sally's. Yeah, sorry, you gave me the wrong name. I couldn't remember which one.
Well,
Kathy was Sally's friend.
yes. Who gets set in
I was
time?
trying to talk about the main
25,
character, and you
Sparrow,
gave
a
me the wrong
Mockingbird
name.
TV series.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sally met Larry, who was Kathy's brother.
And
Wasn't
was
it
naked
I
the
already
first time
have
they
to
saw
hit
each other.
Moffat with a rubber hose, Bill. Don't make me add you to the list.
Well, we didn't mention that part to the audience yet. We mentioned it off screen, I think.
Yes, we did. We only mentioned it off screen. Um, Anything else that we really need to cover? She finally gets the messages. She starts to react to these DVD extras that she figures out on all the DVDs she owns. What was it, Larry was his name? Starts writing it all down
Yep.
so that way the Doctor will have those notes in the future to bring with him to the past in order to make these DVD extras.
Yes.
Um, after they after the script runs out, the Doctor then finally warns her that whatever it is that's supposed to happen afterwards, it's going to happen pretty soon. Keep your eyes on the angels. No matter what you do, don't blink. They're almost as old as the universe itself, and that they're quite dangerous. Even though they don't actually kill you outright, they will send you back in time somewhere, undo everything you were supposed to be doing in time, and essentially they feed off that energy, the disappearance of someone who should exist in that particular time period, feeding off the possibility of time. And, well, a time machine messes with that all the time now, doesn't it? So they're looking to get into the TARDIS because that would be a huge, never-ending surplus for them. To which the heroes managed to fool the angels long enough to get to the TARDIS, which was moved into the basement of the house that she originally encountered them in. They managed to get into the TARDIS with the angels hot on their heels. It turns out that there's extra coding on the DVDs, which gave programs to the TARDIS to go find the Doctor in the 1960s, and at the same time tricking the angels into looking at each other, permanently casting them into stone unless someone would move them, I would assume. And that's more or less it, except for the ending bit where they finally bump into the Doctor and give him the notes that he needs for when he is touched by the angels in the future and sent to the past.
Most wibbly wobbly synopsis ever.
Yes.
Am I the only one wondering why the Doctor was stuck in the year of season 6?
Actually, I was wondering why he was stuck in the years of episode 1, season 1 of the original
That
Who.
was 1963.
Uh-oh.
Huh?
Was that the year he was actually stuck in? Was 63?
He was-
Because I thought
he
they
was
were talking about the moon
He was
landing.
trapped. He was trapped in
It's 60
69.
something.
69.
He was trapped in
okay.
69, which is the year of the War Games and the Mind
Because they wanted to bring up the moon landing.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, I did want to mention that. Moffat seems to really like the moon landing.
Apparently.
Martha and the Doctor went there 4 times, and then the Doctor made sure to mess around with the moon landing again a couple seasons later.
Yeah.
maybe that's because Moffat found the stage that it was actually acted out on. Conspiracy theorists, start your engines.
I also noticed that Moffat. So this is the third Moffat episode I've seen in recently, and I've noticed he does a thing where he builds suspense by doing something like, if this, then that, or then what that, beginning with like when you like the slow burn of realization. Like in The Empty Child, they say, "Wait a minute, what's that sound? The tape ran out 30 seconds ago. Dun dun dun." And then, if this clock is broken, what's making that ticking noise?
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. And then, wait a minute, you're not looking at the statue. Neither are you.
Dun dun dun.
And your point?
You have
Moffat
two
likes
shadows.
Moffat likes
observation.
very short-lived suspense, apparently.
Apparently.
Yes. Yes, I know what to look for. I'm going to be looking for this in every Moffat episode from now on.
You'll find it in a good deal of them. Not all of them,
Yeah.
but a good deal of them. The problem is, as I was going to mention earlier, later Moffat, once he becomes the story runner, takes a more fairy tale aspect of things.
Mhm.
Kind of a cross between Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland.
I'm actually looking at his defense of plot hole criticism here.
Good
His-
luck on that,
his-
Moffat.
His explanation about plot holes is, I think people have come to think a plot hole is something which isn't explained on screen. A plot hole is actually something that can't be explained. Sometimes you expect the audience to put two and two together for themselves. For Sherlock and indeed Doctor Who, I've always made the assumption that the audience is clever.
That's a very lame excuse.
That
Was that a
works.
grunt of pain?
That works for some things he's written, but it definitely doesn't work for all of them, especially if you consider him as story editor to be things he's written.
Alright,
Yes.
well, here's a link to that in case anyone wants to read further after the podcast.
I think I've seen that quote.
I think I have too.
And I'd
It
still
comes
stab
off
him.
as me
yes.
as being a shoddy excuse for lazy writing.
Yes. It's even a lazy excuse for being a lazy writer. To which I still wonder why he has a job right now.
Well, I also
Because
From what
there's
I
not a
understand,
lot of other good options for head writers
Yeah.
who stepped forward.
I'm like, and it's the one person I particularly want to see. Well, one of the two anyway is not British, so he wouldn't be the one.
Who's
And
that?
the other one, Joss Whedon.
Hmm.
His style seems to be pretty fitting for Doctor Who, but he's
That's
also
because it was, when Russell started it, he was using Buffy as an inspiration. Who's the other one?
The other one, you already know who that is. And
No, I don't.
He's Nicholas Briggs.
Okay. I didn't know if you were actually going to say the choice that everyone would love to see but
Right.
can't. And
Why
that's
BBC needs to steal him away from Big Finish.
actually I was going to bring up Neil Gaiman.
Oh. See, the thing
just
with Gaiman
won't do
is
it.
I honestly, I know of things he's done, but I mainly know him as a guy who's written a couple comics I've read, and 2 Doctor Who episodes that I liked okay. So I don't really know him in the way to actually go out and say, I really think he'd be a good choice, because I don't know him like that.
Slowly walk up to Bill and smack him.
Like, I haven't read Sandman. It's on my to-do list.
I haven't either.
I haven't either. I owned the first volume and I stopped reading because they stopped using Sam Keith's art.
Oh my god, how have you not why? Why? I own like 3/4 of that series!
It's not my thing, Matt.
Oh!
Bring it to GeekCon. I'll need something to do on my downtime.
I'll smack you upside the head of my comic book library. Lord knows it's not going anywhere at the moment. Actually, yeah, I think all my Sandman are in my boxes right now where they're safe. Along with most of my manga.
I feel like I completely forgot what we were talking about.
Writers for Doctor Who. Because
why?
we really need a replacement
Oh.
for Moffat.
Because we were talking about Okay.
Smack.
We were not talking about the episode at all.
Throttle Moffat, throttle.
Okay, so let's actually switch over to the actual episode then. Um,
Unless, by the way, has anybody read my Christmas Holiday by Sally Sparrow?
No, you put a link, but obviously
Mhm.
I had no time to read it.
Right. Well, wasn't sure if anyone had read it beforehand or anything.
no, I
Nope.
didn't have time to read it because you
Like,
put it up like 10 minutes before we began.
I think I
I,
also
I might
linked
have
it
read
a
it,
week.
but if I read it, it was
Yeah.
ages ago,
I think I
and I
also
don't
linked it
remember.
like 5 days ago, but
I don't recall seeing it.
and I
Neither
mean,
did I.
mhm. It's definitely. I can see that why. Essentially, it's if it's this story boiled down to a two-page short story. It's one of those like we were talking about with Girl in the Fireplace, how he was given a brief, and in order to fit the brief, he made a monster. In that case, the Clockwork Androids. That's kind of what he did here. He had an idea for a Doctor Light episode, but in order to make it something that could flesh out a full episode, he added a monster. It's basically the
Mm.
same type of deal where the Doctor left notes and a videotape, and eventually Sally Sparrow found what was needed and brought the TARDIS back to him, and
Mm.
everything else was added to make the episode long enough and functional enough. She was made a bit older so that people would enjoy watching it more on TV, etc.
Yeah, she seemed to at least be almost college age in the actual Blink
I'm sure.
episode.
I'm actually
Right.
sure she's a bit older, a tad at least.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. Whereas in the short story, I think she might be like 12 or something like that.
Yes, I read that far. Hello, my name is Sally Sparrow. I'm 12 years old.
Okay.
Yep.
But anyway, let's actually talk about the episode itself. Usually, I like to try to break these up into chunks that we can discuss. The problem is that this episode's a little muddled.
A
Yeah,
little
it's very
linear
timey
rapid.
wimey.
I'm not even talking from a temporal standpoint. I'm talking just from a script standpoint. There's no beginning, middle, and ending.
There's
Well, there's an
there's I
ending,
mean
but there's kind of no beginning and middle.
there's there's before Sally got involved in the plot. Yeah, there's essentially before Sally got involved in the plot, which is
The
everything.
plot and then the
Yeah,
resolution.
right. So it's basically everything before Larry shows her the Easter egg, uh, everything after that, and then there's the climax.
By the way, here's a huge flaw, and I keep seeing this every once in a while too, in the Angels.
Hmm.
Mirrored sunglasses. It's safe to blink now.
True. The angel
Yeah.
be looking at itself.
Exactly.
There's another point for mirror shades, baby.
Ooh yeah.
And you realize Weevil Boy is now in the background, smiling and nodding.
That's another thing. If everyone just pointed the angel in their yard at the Statue of Liberty, it would never move.
Uh, plot holes.
There's so many plot holes involving the angels.
It keeps getting worse.
If they can't look at each other without freezing, how the hell do they reproduce?
Right. The biggest the biggest thing that
Blindfolds.
Well,
bothers the biggest thing that bothers
do
me
they
about them.
produce at all, or are they just always there?
Well, we did see baby angels in Take
Yes.
Manhattan.
True.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
The biggest thing that bothers me with them, and it's especially noticeable in the baby angels because they move people through space instead of time, and that's what they're doing in order to draw energy from people requires a massive expenditure of energy to the point that humanity has not yet harnessed the level of energy sufficient to do what they do on a regular basis. So where do they get all that energy that they use to harvest their food?
Kind of seems a little self-defeating, really.
Yeah,
it's definitely not sustainable living, that's for sure.
I mean,
Like-
you got to use all that energy just to have a dinner?
right.
The fuck,
But
man?
throwing someone back in time 70 years is not the same as cooking some pasta. Like
But what
That's
if it
pretty
was?
much all of the power of mankind in the 21st century combined into one action.
You know,
Maybe
that
it's
does
the
kind of
power
explain
of,
why they try to keep setting up these mass farming situations.
Mhm.
yeah.
And that
What if
said, like,
it's the power of a bunch of angels working together, and then they all split the food between each other?
and that said, like,
Well, that was essentially Angels Take
yeah.
Manhattan.
And
Yeah.
like they're supposed to eat the potential of people. But for example, in one episode, Rory gets thrown back in time something like 3 times. How much potential energy does he have? I mean, I know he's Kenny, but there has to be a limit.
Well, he might be an Auton who can live forever.
He might be. Yeah, they
Except
never really
obviously he
covered that.
can't, because we saw his grave.
Right.
Yeah, apparently. Maybe.
So he's apparently Marvin.
Marvin?
Come on, Bill should get the reference. He just
Yeah.
finished reading Hitchhikers.
Oh.
He's what, 6 times older than the universe itself?
Yes. He's Marvin minus depression,
That's a good
which
run.
makes him a less enjoyable character, scarily enough.
6 times the age of the universe. That's a good run.
Brain the size of a planet, and that's what you want me to do.
Yeah, I cannot think of hearing Marvin's voice anymore without hearing Alan Rickman.
He did an excellent job, did he not?
Yes, he did.
I'll have you all know I'm very depressed.
I mean, I can still barely hear original like TV series Marvin voice, but
A little
I think
bit,
Alan
but
Rickman's
it's
better.
definitely him.
Now that you say that, I feel like every time I see Alan Rickman speak, I'm going to hear Marvin.
So what you do now is you sit down and watch the Harry Potter movies.
Exactly.
Imagine
Especially-
what that mentality is going to do for Snape.
Especially considering the twist with his character anyway.
Hello, class. Hello, children. I'll have you all know I'm very depressed.
Right, Ron, it's time to go down to potions and slit our wrists.
Harry, you first.
Would anybody be upset if I said Harry Potter spoilers at this point?
Go ahead.
Dude, how long has it been since any spoilers for Harry Potter were actually spoilers?
Well,
Rosebud
you
is a
know, I
sled.
never did.
I don't know, but I told somebody once that Snape killed a Dumbledore 5 years after it was spoiled for me, and they got pissed at me.
I would look at him and go, spoiler rules, man. 2 years is the limit.
Pretty much.
Like,
I never did finish reading the 7th book.
I remember it was spoiled for the entire world while I was I was 2 pages into the book because I had to borrow the book and I had to wait for my sister to finish reading it first.
Here's a spoiler, Aaron. Here's a spoiler, and Voldemort's defeated.
It's okay, I watched the movies.
I'm being.
I don't need to read the book. That's what the movie's there for.
Actually, I don't
speaking
know.
of-
I've never seen the 7th movie.
Speaking of reading the book,
Art.
kind of a nerd announcement. I've started reading Game of Thrones.
Oh
Yes.
God.
So that means
Join
after I
us,
watch,
Bill.
that
Oh,
means
God.
after I finish the book, I can start watching the show.
It means I'm going to be
Yes.
pressured by another person into watching Game of Thrones.
Yes.
I'm already interested in
I've
watching the
actually tried
abridged
to do it
series.
twice, and all I can hear whenever I turn it on is "Wiener, floppy wiener." Fuck you,
I
South
wonder who
Park.
gave you that idea.
Fuck
The
you,
fact
South
that I
Park.
sing it continually in your ear at night. I also posted. Escapist Magazine is doing Game of Thrones abridged, by the way.
Yes, I'm going to be watching that. That looks
I will be
hilarious.
watching it too.
It looks hilarious. I'll be enjoying this.
We were talking about something, and it's entirely. Oh, that's right.
Books,
Wait,
plots.
Why were we talking about Alan Rickman?
So
Because-
far,
so-
Tim's the
Because
one-
it mentioned
Okay,
that
because
Rory
of Mark.
was like a Marvin minus the depression.
Right. So let's go back to Angels. Actually, let's even go back further than that because we were going to talk about the first third of the episode.
Okay.
So it starts off with a scene that pretty much is a straight rip from the short story where Sally is pulling wallpaper in what appears to be an abandoned building. We really don't know why, but she sees messages that the doctor left her in 1969 to duck because apparently an angel was breaking its MO and throwing Was it a bottle at her? What did it throw at her?
I think it was a shoe.
Or a brick
Made
or
of
something.
glass, though.
Oh.
It was
Unless
small
it
Was it made
black.
of glass or the window was made of...
Unless it hit something that was made of
It,
glass.
it went through the window. It had to have
Yeah,
gone through a
Okay.
window.
So it missed her head, bounced off the wall, and hit the window.
Yeah, I thought it was a brick or something.
Why was an angel throwing a brick at her?
That is a good question, unless it just wanted to keep her away from their TARDIS.
Unless they just wanted to scare her out of the building, and she didn't. Hopefully, she wouldn't find the key.
Yeah. Was it the key that was in the building or the TARDIS?
The key was in the building first. They later found the TARDIS, and she still had the key.
Okay, I couldn't remember that. Couldn't remember which one was what one was who. I knew the key was one place, the TARDIS was another, and one of them was in the house.
I feel like
They-
that's
they
the
were
only
both at the house at
we
different
ever have
points.
of an angel throwing something at someone.
Still, it was an attempt by an angel to scare someone away.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It makes sense in the standpoint that they're trying to scare someone away without actually showing themselves off. But the fact that it failed is kind of their own problem.
And in the process, showing themselves in the most obvious way possible. Like, hey, I'm a statue, and a brick just flew from me at your head.
It's a ghost!
Then again, no one ever said that the Weeping Angels were smart or were the product of evolution.
True, they've been around since, quote-unquote, the beginning of the universe.
So
Yeah.
that's how the angels reproduced. They touched each other and threw themselves back to the beginning of time.
Of course.
Of course.
Ta-da.
Don't you know anything about science?
Don't you know anything about science? Blinded me with science.
I'm sure at least somebody here got that specific reference.
Me.
Image of twin Hitlers. There.
Yeah.
Done.
Yes.
The ironic thing is that I read Superman at Earth's End years before I ever heard of before Atop the Fourth Wall even started.
I'm glad that
So-
your comics sucked more than mine did.
So from there, she meets up with her best friend, and I think they make a crack at ITV, but I'm not sure if we've narrowed down what exactly that, if it was considered that or not.
Maybe at the time, not totally sure though.
Yeah.
We would have to talk to with Moffat himself, but we're not sure if we'd get to that point before we start bludgeoning him.
They
Yeah,
essentially
well, I
say
think
that
I think we'd have to be a little more knowledgeable about England pop culture.
maybe. Like I said, all I really know about ITV is that they tried to compete with Doctor Who for years and never
failed.
really
Yeah,
made,
but they're
and never
another
really made an
network.
equivalent sci-fi show.
Well, yeah, they're also another network,
the
which is why they
crack
try to
sounded
do
like
it.
it was like, buddy crime drama thing. It would be like saying, the next police procedural show coming soon to CBS.
Or ABC, or
Because
Fox.
no, to CBS, because CBS is the one that has all the frickin' police procedural shows. They do CSI, they did Numbers, they did Criminal Minds. It's kind of become their niche. I'm wondering if ITV had a similar niche at
Maybe.
the time this came out.
Might be.
Maybe.
Mm,
Don't know. We don't know enough. Anyway, moving on.
Meanwhile.
Oh, that's right. So that's right. She went there pretty much because she was scared of the angels. Is that why she went to her friend's house at 1 a.m?
Yes.
Or was there a more? Okay.
She was spooked by the angels and the message on the wall and having something tossed at her and only seeing a statue angel.
It was, in fact, a rock, by the way.
Okay.
No, it was a rock. I could have sworn it looked like a high heel shoe or something, but
And
okay.
then she
No,
met her
it's right.
friend's naked brother and told him he didn't need to put underwear on, which was kind of weird.
No, he was
No.
asking pants.
Yeah.
And she
As
said
in, should
no.
As in, yeah, he was naked.
As in, am I wearing them?
Oh, he asked if he was wearing them. I thought
Yeah.
he was asking if he should put some on.
No, he was like...
Because
he-
immediately afterward, Kathy came out yelling, "Put them on! Put them on!"
Yeah, I think it was the fact that it was... Guy had a night of binge drinking with his buddies, staggered back from the pub, got undressed, and collapsed.
Or more like he went to the bathroom and was draining the wizard. as you will.
Even there, you still usually would keep your pants, there.
Yeah.
Depends.
And for those
But to
Americans who
actually
aren't
forget
very well
if you
rooted
have
in
pants on or night
British,
sounds like a night of drinking.
Yeah.
for those Americans who don't follow a lot of British media, in this case, pants generally refers specifically to the undergarment, as compared to in America, it would refer to the outer garment.
Hmm.
I learned that from Torchwood Miracle Day.
Yeah, what we call pants, they call trousers.
Whereas
Oh,
here, trousers are pretty much a specific type of pants.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have anything really else to say about the pre-Doctor parts of this episode?
There's not really much to say. I mean, this is an attempt like Love and Monsters to show what's going on from the perspective of another character
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
rather than the Doctor. And one might argue this is more successful.
Yes, it was.
yes. But then again, Love and Monsters didn't set the bar all that high.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd said at the time to my friends in 2006 that I liked the concept of having this done from another character's perspective. A for concept, F for execution.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to you
The,
guys.
the Russian judge was going to dock him down for that. He
I
didn't
always
land
thought it
the
was a
dismount.
Bulgarian judge. I thought he was the stickler. Anyway,
I usually hear Russian judge, but yeah. Mystery Science Theater.
well, if it was that, it was a Cold War joke.
Probably.
Anyway, so it's nice to see that from this perspective as working. Like I said though, the actual order of events and stuff is a bit confusing in this episode. It has a lot of the same faults that I see with like Voyager and stuff, only backwards. Is that you actually no? I saw it with Voyager too, where you're seeming to jump in the episode right in the middle. I mean, she's investigating the house, and we really don't get a good idea why, other than it was there.
Do we know what she does for a living?
Apparently taking photos.
Yeah, she's like a photo investigator or something.
She
Or
was
wants
in there
to be.
because she liked old things and old things made her feel sad. That's what she told her friend.
Yes.
And her take on it is that sad is a complicated version of happy. At least that particular version is sad. I would assume that she takes photos and she might be a self-employed photographer of some sort.
She wants to be Vicky Vale.
Yeah, I was thinking Peter Parker.
Either way
Yeah,
works.
blonde female Vicky Vale. She wants to discover the identity of Batman. Oh yeah, mind you, I'm actually watching the episode while we're talking, so I'm actually kind of thinking a side commentary on it.
Mm.
And yeah, there was a bit. The fact that while Sally and her friend were investigating the house, I'm sorry. While Sally and her friend was investigating the house, they got the knock on the door from the person giving her the letter from her friend while the friend was still there.
Yes, but it was inevitable that the friend was about ready to disappear because we can easily see also as she's watching on that the angel's moving.
Yeah, I know, but it was a bit of a temporal. It shows preset predestination time travel rather than
Yeah, and that seems to be something that is common. I mean, that appears in a few of. I mean, pretty much anything with the angels in it has that sort of time travel because otherwise it gets really messy.
Yeah, the fact that Moffat is essentially writing his way into a paradox here. As you
Which
mentioned, this bootstrap
I
paradox.
believe that foreshadows the end of the episode, which turns out to be an entire uh, time loop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she continues the time loop by giving the information to the doctor.
Yes.
right.
It's the question becomes though, how did that paradox originally start?
Hmm.
The angels existing. The end.
No, Matt, that doesn't explain temporal physics.
You say it doesn't explain temporal physics. I say it's wibbly wobbly.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Oh, okay.
this episode very much subscribes to the frozen in amber. Everything that was going to happen is always going to happen, and it will always only happen one way.
Which is very contrary to how Doctor Who works.
Pretty much,
In
yeah.
some respects, yes.
But that is something that Moffat generally does a lot of, and here, I mean, the short story this is based on is where you really see it start. Um, a lot of Doctor Who, especially in the RTD era, follows more of a, I'd say 5 or 6 dimensional is the best way to describe it, where the Doctor's own time stream is sort of determines how cause and effect works, and if it's if something changes that the Doctor sees, it'll change the universe as he's going forward, whereas it won't change his past experience. Whereas when Moffat's writing, it's more general, the things that the Doctor does will influence things that he knew that caused him to do them.
Yeah, but then writing that two different time travel, physics style is kind of, I don't know, it kind of is off-putting for me.
Yeah.
That seems to be a thing that bothers you a lot, but it doesn't seem to really bother me that much. I'm not sure why.
It
That's
bothers me sometimes, mainly because there's no way for, I mean, if there was really a dedicated, a set team that said this is how we're going to make Doctor time travel consistent among all Doctor Who stories going forward, and this is going to be our time travel Bible, and we're going to follow it, it would not
like
bother me.
the equivalent of a Team Okuda for Doctor Who, like Team Okuda was for Star Trek: The Next Generation and
Yeah,
DS9, etc.
but because it varies from story to story,
And
that's what bothers me about it. Because that basically means the laws of the universe, the laws of physics, change
changed
from
per
episode to episode.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what bothers me. You've just hit the nail on the head, Bill. Because I'm also, when I watch these episodes, I watch these episodes from the perspective of somebody that's going to dip his feet into the pond of writing for this universe, at least
Mhm.
within the realms of my own fan fiction.
Right.
And when I have something that doesn't give me an A or B answer,
Yeah.
where sometimes it's A, sometimes it's B, when I go to write that same option, I get a little bewildered on whether I should be using A or B.
Right. And that's where, I mean, really, like, for someone like me who really, who has the same reaction as you, except my brain is very drawn to trying to make lists and diagrams and explanations of things. What I really need to do is make essentially a 6 dimensional diagram of how time travel is working in this story, just to figure out where all the causes and effects lie.
Maybe it's because I've watched Back to the Future since I was 5. I don't know.
Well, no, the thing is, Back to the Future had one method of time travel.
It only covered one of the
Back,
methods,
Back to
yes.
the Future had the method of time travel that's described in the Shakespeare Code, where there's one single timeline, but you can go back in time and change that timeline, and it'll influence the way the future works. Actually, they might even reference Back to the Future in that episode.
I think they did.
So that's one form of the timeline. The one we're looking at in Blink is another. And
Which
then, of
is,
course,
there is one factual timeline,
right, and that it does
and
not
you can't
change.
change, you can just become a part of it.
Right.
Actually, I would argue that you could change it. It's just a matter of the fact that they didn't know they could, and so they didn't. And they became
Um,
part of events.
no, the fact that they received the letter before she went in time
And I'm
is a
still
sign
saying
of a
that if she
fixed
knew that her friend
timeline.
was in danger, she
Yeah.
could have literally turned right back around, saved her, and that person who was knocking the door would have just vanished.
Except by Back to the Future physics, he wouldn't have been there until the second after she vanished.
Right.
See, someone who actually could affect time would have had to have gone back and stopped this from happening, is the problem.
Whereas about a season earlier, I'm pretty sure the whole thing with the parallel universe with Rise of the Cybermen fits a bit more among the many worlds interpretation of
Not
time
really.
travel.
That isn't really temporal theory. That's transdimensional theory or sidereal theorem. It's a completely separate part of theoretical
Is
physics.
it or
I love how we're getting to these complicated topics and people are just
You
scratching
are
their
now
heads.
talking in an area which I have basically spent my entire life researching, Matt.
I am this thing.
because they're yeah, it is different than temporal, but it's still basically the idea that when something changes, it causes a separate universe. So
I hate
time
that
travel is
particular
part
time
of
travel theory, and no, that particular episode does not use that theory. It doesn't
that.
even come
I
close.
feel I feel like the way they describe the existence of the universe they're in is describing it that way.
Not
It's a
necessarily.
sidereal universe, Bill. Sit your butt down, find an old copy of Marvel's Excalibur, and read the Cross Time Caper. Pretty much issues 9 through 40. Because it's all multi-dimensional time travel where it's the same thing. Or go watch Sliders.
Sliders, yes. Go, Bill. Watch
Because
something
Sliders
decent.
was basically written on that theory.
Yes, yes, it was.
What if
I was-
there are
I
an
was-
infinite amount of universes where there's only a slight thing changes?
I
Like,
was more
for example...
I was more thinking of Star Trek, where the existence of the alternate universe where the Earth Empire where the Empire exists hinged on whether or not Cochrane's coin landed on heads or tails. But actually, now that I think about it, that might have been one of Shatner's fan fictions.
that whole thing, actually... no, the parallel universe is pure sidereal. The whole Earth Empire thing?
Like in terms of it being created by that coin flip, I think that might have
No,
been Shatner.
yeah, that was must have been Shatner, because
Because that was
I
not part of the
remember
original
every
story, no.
alternate episode from Star Trek, from DS9, and from Enterprise. The others didn't have them. And no, there was never anything, a decisive moment.
When
that
the
they showed.
universe changed,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it was the Shatner book where the Shatner book that dealt with the alternate universe Kirk fighting the
Yeah.
regular one.
No, that was always considered the Mirrorverse, and it was sidereal. Mind you, when they got to, going into detail in DS9, it got more sidereal and less evil twin. Because they went into the whys and hows, but there was no decisive moment.
Yeah. That's pretty much the way I always thought of that universe, too. As far as I knew of it.
Okay.
Yep. So the whole Cybus universe, Pete's world, if you want to call it, is sidereal, not temporal.
See,
It's based around
this
Sigil, yes.
and this is why I knew that even without arguments, we'd have plenty of things to talk about.
Now, to come in next week for the next lesson. For homework, I want you to review pages 88 through 5,413. I'll expect a 12-page essay.
And for my class, I'd require you all to watch Back to the Future 3
It's
times to pick up
okay.
every little reference you can.
If you don't have time to read all the material, just hop back in time a few weeks, and you'll get it done in no time.
This, by the way, arguments like this is what gave me the nickname the Professor when I was a kid.
See, no one asked me about when my spacey gaze went on during school when I was bored and just thought.
Which, by the way, was, when I actually got into Doctor Who role-playing, that was the name of my Time Lord, the Professor.
My Time Lord is the
then
Eclecticist.
freaking,
I quite like it.
the new series started, and I got all depressed because I couldn't actually say that I had a Time Lord anymore. Because, of course, they all would have died in the Time War.
But now that's been undone, Randy.
Yes, I know, but they're still lost. God damn it.
They're still lost. At least most of them are, as far as we're aware.
And keep in mind, they don't necessarily have to be in a different universe. They
they're
could be in a different part of the universe.
They're lost, but all they need to do is find a crack and do whatever they want with it.
Yes,
Yeah.
technically any rogue Time Lords could escape now if they wanted to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but I'm going to wait for the
they
series to
finish with it.
establish that before I do it.
Are we going to come up with a new Ronnie now?
Ronnie!
Ronnie is one of those things that have been rumored.
For
I want
so
to-
long!
I want to
And
see
of course the
RTD's
Master-
version of the Ron.
And of course, the Master coming back is another thing that's been rumored. But we're going to have to see when Series 8 starts.
I want some Ronnie. I want some Ronnie. I want some Master.
God.
I want some good
I
old
have
Time
watched
Lord
have
far
fighting.
too
The
much
Ronnie
BBC
too.
abridged of late. I'm watching Shipton talking with Sally Sparrow in the parking lot, and I can see the police badge on the side of his arm, and my brain goes, "Is that a Capsule Corp logo?" Oh, damn you,
Speaking
brain!
of that scene, that lets me bring us back to the episode. But this is something that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on. But in this episode, we see two people, not counting the we see four people that are essentially killed by the angels.
Quote
We
unquote.
see Kathy Nightingale, who writes a letter that says, "Don't feel sorry for me. I've lived a good and full life." She fell in love, got married, had children and grandchildren.
That sounds
We see
familiar.
the doctor and Martha, who go back in time and just send someone to go get their time machine for them and go back to wherever they felt like it. And then we see Shipton, who, yes, he has to cancel his date because he cannot call Sally, but he goes back in time, falls in love, gets married, lives a good life, dies happy.
More or
So,
less.
what's the horror aspect of the angels?
Well, the Doctor describes them as being the most
The only psychopaths that kill you kindly.
yes, the only psychopaths that kill you kindly.
Essentially, they're not actually killing you, but they are sending you to a place you don't want to be, and they're killing you slowly by sending you there.
Apparently, they're making you live a happier life than the average person lives in the regular world.
That's true.
That they may feel better about it in the end, but the immediate effect is not exactly a happy one.
They could also
You know-
be lying.
See, that would work a bit better if, for example, the scene with Kathy going back in time, she was like terrified and in a strange place where terrible things were happening, rather than going on a stroll on the countryside with some guy that she ends up falling in love with later.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching this scene too, and there's another problem I have with this episode, and that's the fourth wall. You're watching Shipton as he's walking towards the TARDIS. There's this entire score of angels around him. And he looks at one as he goes past, turns and looks at the other, at which point he's not looking at the first angel. But the angel's not moving because you're looking at it. Which means that Moffat just inadvertently broke the fourth wall.
To be fair,
Not
the
necessarily.
alternative would have been to have the angel move without the character seeing, but with us still seeing it.
The alternative would have been better cinematography.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure, didn't they do that approach in the next Angel episode where we saw an angel move and the response was not exactly favorable.
Yeah, I'm not saying we
Yeah.
should see the angel move. I'm saying that shot shouldn't have been filmed like that.
Yeah, what essentially Randy is saying is that they should have shot it at a different angle so we didn't have to actually see that angel when it moved.
Yeah, I get you. And this is actually, come to think of it, if not for the twist of Time of the Angels, a found footage episode about angels would actually be something that would kind of work.
Maybe.
If they take out that stupid idea that was only added to pad out the episode into a two-parter,
Yeah.
that would work.
Yeah, no, my whole issue there is the fact that the angel is not moving because you're looking at it, and you technically don't exist in this universe, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
That's my only issue with that particular scene is the fact that, yeah, it's the angels are counting you as an entity. And it shouldn't be.
I don't see it that way, but I can understand
Well,
where
see,
you might have some aggressions towards that
somebody
idea.
was there filming Shipton. Maybe not the audience, but somebody with a camera.
No, actually, my problem with that particular scene is that he was just there with the police box talking to a girl. He turns around, looks back, and he sees all these freaky-ass looking angels all over it. How the hell
And
is he
just
not running
casually
for the
just
fucking
walks
border?
Up to them.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if these angels kind of, are supposed to develop this kind of calm field where where you just get the feeling that, okay, that's just unusual, not, oh my god.
Because that would be
Maybe.
the instant where I would have gone, oh my god, and ran for the hills.
Which they would have grabbed you as you were running, Matt, just telling you.
I'd be watching my ass, and as far as I'm and as far as they're concerned, he's not going to do anything about them anyway.
Don't look away, don't blink.
Right.
But as far as he's concerned, they don't know anything. They don't know anything about him, and he doesn't know anything about what they're about, and he's not going to be able to stop them anyways. Whereas the girl with the key, on the other hand, she is stopping them. They want her.
Speaking of what I just said, that's something that bothers me, not about this episode, but about other episodes written around it. I think it's the next Doctor, where the Doctor, he's talking to the person he thinks is himself, and he starts naming things that the audience would consider significant, but he wouldn't.
Like what?
Like he walks up to this, what he thinks is a future version of himself. He's like, "Don't you remember? Don't blink." Like, because I'm sure in, how many thousand years he's only said the words "don't blink" once.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still relatively recent from his time perspective.
Yes.
I mean, it's only been a couple of years since then.
At
Like,
most.
he doesn't know what this supposed future version of him, actually, no, because he knows that he's the 12th.
Yeah. So
technically
he
it's
doesn't
off
know.
at that point,
And he knows, though, he is going to die soon. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't quite yet. He doesn't get that till the next episode, but he knows his song is ending.
Yeah, but he does know that there's only one regeneration left, so if there's a future version of him,
There's
it
only
has to
one
be the
left.
final. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he'd much rather had it been that guy than the frickin' hyperactive 12-year-old that is Matt Smith.
I love how we're using Day of the Doctor to rationalize something that Russell T Davies wrote well before he had any idea that John Hurt was going to be the Doctor.
You mean you are? I'm just mentioning that he's the next
no one
Doctor.
disagreed with me. No one disagreed with me.
I just
We
shrugged and
didn't.
moved on with it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's enough to qualify inclusion in your justification there, Bill.
I don't know where Tim is at, but
Poor Tim. We're just talking so much. Hi, Tim.
Tim, what does Tim have to say?
I think we lost him in the temporal physics discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a bit beyond my head.
Like I said, I've spent my entire life researching this kind of
So-
stuff.
I've spent
Probably
most of
the
my
most
life
knowledgeable
just.
amateur. In
Yeah, essentially. I'm
Tim.
I'm very amateur, but I know at least a little bit of what I
Guys, when are we
speak when it comes to time
letting
travel.
Tim talk?
Tim, are the angels scary?
Honestly, they're scary looking, but
I feel like that's something your mom would say to you.
Well, I was raised by my mom, so
Aren't
So,
we all?
yeah, but still, just the concept, like the angels don't really kill you because you still get to live, and seeing as how the Doctor himself doesn't live in time chronologically, and he's perfectly fine with it, I don't get why, you know, as long as you sort of like keep in mind. And also, a
Here's
thought
one.
occurred to
Okay.
me, like when they
Okay.
find all the cars of the people who have been sent back in time. Now, none of these people have, I don't think, met the Doctor, or if they don't really know what's happened to them. They just know, oh my God, it's the year 1920 or 1930 or 1960. 60. Has anyone ever tried to, change time a la Back to the Future? Or, like, stop something from happening?
That's a
Stop.
good point.
Yeah, they
Because
never really go into that.
all the ones we see pretty much just go back in time, get married, and live a normal life.
yeah, they don't really cover
Yeah.
anyone who actually gets vindictive about it and
Or
actually tries to
sends
change
messages to
things.
the
Yeah.
future, but they don't
Or
try to
or
they
or
they don't
tries
try
to
to
like
change their own fate.
yeah, they don't. None of them try to bet on sporting events that they know what's going to happen or anything.
They don't try
At
to
least not
send
that we
themselves
see.
a letter saying, "God sakes, don't do this."
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
or.
Or what if they're
Mm,
psychopaths? What if they try, like killing a bunch of important historical figures?
although
Hey, I'm back in 1920. Let's go kill Hitler. Oh wait, we'll see that in series
ki-
6.
Wah,
kind
wah,
of
wah.
related to what Aaron said, I did think of one way to make a to add some serious suspense to an Angel episode, though. There's some kind of war or battle or conflict going on, and the angels are, say, either hired or coerced or just convinced by an evil faction to go around and send the leadership figures of the side that the audience wants to win back in time.
Oh, I could one up that. Now imagine these leader figures going back in time decide to raise an army and start their war early. And then the same thing happens again. So you actually have a war going backwards in time as the leaders keep getting sent further back in time and starting up their armies earlier and earlier and earlier. I could make a Doctor Who episode.
That's what happened with the Daleks and the Time Lords.
Kind of, but not quite.
That's why
They
things
kept
got
they
time
kept
locked.
making they kept making strikes back in time, but the war was still going on in quote present time. It's just the war would be changed slightly because of the temporal effect until they started locking it down. Yes.
Well, the Time Lords did send an agent back to the dawn of Dalek history to kill them.
Yes, that agent being the Doctor, and that was one of the first blows of the war. And it was actually the biggest mistake they ever did because it brought Davros into the game. So yeah,
That's a thing.
but no, it's the Time War was fought in quote the present, being Gallifrey's present. It was just the fact that they would try to go and use time travel to filter to tilt things in their favor, and that kept causing paradoxes and other horrific things to pop up, so that it was basically turning into one all-consuming maw of doom. But that's neither here nor there. We've got about 15 minutes left before we go to final thoughts, and
Oh, we got a little bit more than that.
I thought we started at about
Okay.
10 after.
10 after 10, yes.
I think
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
basically 15 minutes too, so that gives us 15 minutes and then 10 minutes for final thoughts and point and markings.
A little bit. Oh, by the way, funny picture. Angel and one of the Boos from Super Mario Brothers. Both of
Seen
them
that.
don't move when you look at them.
Yeah, the angel is kind of. I wonder if that's part of where Moffat got the idea for the Weeping Angels. Only, tried to make them scarier.
Make them creepy angel statues instead of little ghosts.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mario is known for being a little bit cutesy.
Though I will say that when it comes to the other Mario games, Boo is one of my favorites to play.
Okay. So, what else do we want to talk about in this episode?
I think we technically got to about the midpoint, so we should probably talk about the end acts pretty soon.
Okay.
You were saying something, Bill?
I've got one thing I want to talk about. It should probably be toward the end because it'll distract from other things, but I'll need like 5 minutes toward the end.
Okay, so let's close the end portion of this then, I guess.
Okay. So the whole plot resolution: the angels get the key, the angels get the TARDIS, they get the key back, they get it, put it in the TARDIS, and it turns out that these CDs that are using as allows the TARDIS for a one-way trip back to 1967. Anyone else thinks the Doctor was kind of playing this one a little helter-skelter?
Just a wee bit, but
Yeah.
he put his faith in some pretty smart people because they already kind of figured
Well,
out the wibbly wobbly stuff when they first meet him.
To be fair, the Doctor didn't really have to do any thinking. He got a folder saying what the resolution was. And
Except
was
for
like,
that
okay, now I get to come
resolution
up with
didn't
the plot.
include putting the disc in. It was the resolution was that what he was handed was just the transcript of him talking to them.
We
And
don't know
probably-
that.
And,
because there was-
obviously
there was
with that, he figured out everything from
That
there.
folder had a lot of stuff in it, and
Yeah.
you get the impression that there was weeks or possibly months or years between the climax and the scene where she runs into him.
Well, there's a title that says 1 year later.
Oh, there was.
Okay,
I must have missed
so
it.
it's a year then.
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, she could have included, oh, and the disc started glowing when we put it in the TARDIS because the hologram man told us to.
The hologram of you told us to, yeah.
Yeah. I really hate that because that's even more of a predestination time travel. It means that the Doctor did everything exactly because he knew all of it was done before. There was absolutely no creativity needed on his part.
Right.
Well, just because it doesn't need any creativity on his part doesn't mean that you shouldn't tamper with what is already put in place as having worked.
Yeah, except for the fact that, again, it's time travel physics that would have had to have come from someplace.
Right.
And the fact that he didn't remember, the fact that if he was given these instructions, followed them to the letter, for nothing, yeah, it basically would make it absolutely non-creative on his part, and the solution came out of nowhere.
If you believe in good and evil as elements or forces or, some way of describing that as an actual physical thing, then you could kind of say that it was waste energy from the angels. By committing their selfish evil act, they produced waste energy in the form of something good that helped the Doctor, but I would be very careful about trying to use that as a real explanation unless
Something was officially made of it.
It's a possibility, but it's one that I would not choose if I was the writer.
Yeah. To be honest, the more we're discussing this episode, the less I'm liking it.
I just see this as nitpicks. I still think of it as a whole as a rather enjoyable movie, rather enjoyable episode.
No, well, my problem is
nitpicks would be me getting completely pissed off toward the climax when every time the light shows on an angel, it has a jump scare sting, and it starts to get annoying after they're
Oh yeah. If that was something that they were doing, I'd be throwing stuff at the screen, shouting
They
boo.
were doing that for a while. It was
I'm
just like,
watching it happening now.
Yes. And I'm sitting there like, okay, that's annoying, but it doesn't last long. So
no, these are actual problems in the writing. This isn't a nitpick; it's a problem in the writing, and it's one I hadn't seen before.
And again, I see it as only a problem that you are having. To me, it's not really a problem. To me, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't read that much into it.
I
I
don't
think
see that
it's
as a
muddled enough.
specific episode problem. I see that as a problem with the genre of bootstrap paradox stories, and now
I'm
if you
not
look at
fond
that
of
as this
bootstrap
being yeah,
paradox in general.
and if you look at
Exactly
this
what
being
is bootstrap paradox, by the way?
You've been using the term,
I was
Bill. Let's
wondering
avoid it.
that myself. What is bootstrap?
it builds off the idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, which obviously is defies the laws of physics and is impossible, but it's essentially causing something. I'm trying to put it into a sentence that would describe it without using its own words. But the generally a bootstrap paradox is something that where the paradox causes itself to happen, and therefore there's no actual cause for the events to happen. The effect is the cause, is the effect is the cause.
I see.
Yeah, it's a time travel paradox in which objects can exist without having been created.
Okay,
Paradox of time
yeah,
travel, in which
a
information or
closed
objects
time.
can exist without having been created.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of it was the term it comes from Heinlein, by the way. Um, from a story by his bootstraps. Robert A. Heinlein,
But
one of the science fiction greats.
I don't think they use literal bootstraps in there either. I think that's why I was trying to explain where
Mm-hmm.
they got it from.
And what are bootstraps again?
Something that you pull on to pull your boot up, I would assume.
I'm just
Something that
joking. I'm just goofing around with you.
There are several examples of this. For example, on the person's 30th birthday, a person who wishes to build a time machine is visited by a future version of himself. The future self that explains to the person that they should not worry about designing the time machine, as they have done so in the future. The person receives the schematics from his future self and starts building the time machine.
We've already
Time
reviewed that
passes.
episode.
Time passes until they finally complete the time machine. The person then uses it to travel back in time to his 30th birthday, where the schematics are given to his past self, closing the loop. So
See, I have no
that's
problem with that. I don't know why you have a problem
We've
with it.
already watched that episode. I mean, reviewed that episode.
But no, it's the fact that the schematics themselves come from nowhere.
They
Right.
don't come from nowhere. They came from himself, from the future.
But he himself in the future never wrote them. He
Yes.
already had them. One
Every
thing
now
that
and then I like to say, in the future I'm going to build a time machine and I'm going to go back and visit myself now.
now
Aww.
one thing about this form of closed time loop is that, I mean, in Blink that's not the case because you can see them compile the things in the folder and put it into it. But for example, in what Randy just described, which is part of the plot of Destiny of the Doctor, the Time Machine as well, the schematics just keep getting passed off. So in every iteration of the loop, those schematics are slightly older. So eventually those schematics will be millions of years old while they're still being passed down through that same loop to the same 30-year-old person.
See, the
So
thing it doesn't tell you, though, is whether or not they made an
eventually
exact
disappear.
copy and made it into a new print.
It still doesn't matter. The fact that the origin of the schematics came from nowhere. They basically popped into existence as the loop was created because he never created a time machine. He just got it handed to him by his future self, who got it handed to him by his future self. It's like looking in those mirrors where all you're seeing is the mirror image.
And again, it's only because you have the problem with the fact that it's a time loop, and you don't like time loops because ARG!
Because they're physically impossible, which is a valid complaint.
Yes.
If they're not possible, then how can they be made? They already exist.
They can't.
Now,
That's
don't
the problem.
they?
They can't exist, yet they do exist. Hence the term paradox. A paradox, a most ingenious paradox. paradox. Sorry, too much Gilbert and Sullivan when I was a kid.
Still, I see no real major problem in it, and yet you just sit there pulling your hair out.
It's
Causality. That's
yes, causality is
The causality
issue,
is the fact that it happened.
that's not what causality means.
If you don't know what causality
happened.
means, don't comment on it, Matt.
It happened. It was given off from that point. That's what made
Where
it
did
happen.
he get it? His future. You see, the thing is, it's the same answer. It goes backwards. There's no origin. There's no cause to the effect. There's just effect.
The chicken exists without an egg.
Yes, exactly.
Eh.
The chicken and the egg paradox is
Conditioned to demand things through our human perspectives.
there is no egg. There's just the chicken. Which came first, the chicken or the chicken?
Well,
I
obviously
actually
the
kind of
chicken.
like that kind of thinking, just because it messes with your head so much.
It's my problem is it messes with my head so
And
much.
now,
And I'm just sitting here cackling away because I'm enjoying you pulling your hair out. I'm just like, it's just a thing.
now the fact that I've
Your hair out.
Now, the thing is, after Blink, it's not entirely something that can be criticized because once Blink occurs, we've seen that this is something that is part of the universe and that they happen, and therefore just have to deal with the fact that yes, they do happen in this universe.
And they do it again with
think,
Time Crash.
right. Whereas I think Blink is the one that establishes this as the fact, so that unless we're mistaken and there is an earlier incidence of such a loop, Blink is
I'm
the one that
trying
would take
to
criticism.
remember if the Brigadier meeting himself was as the result of a bootstrap paradox, but I can't remember.
I'm trying to think. So,
I don't think so.
That was the one with the Fifth Doctor, yes?
Yes.
Third Doctor. Oh, never mind.
Fifth Doctor.
I didn't see
And I
that
think
one.
the Third Doctor may have been involved. I can't remember for
The
sure.
Third
No,
Doctor-
no, he was not.
No, he
I
wasn't.
thought-
No.
Did the Brigadier meet himself in Day of the Daleks?
No, the Brigadier met himself in
Oh.
Modern Undead.
So it was only the Doctor that met himself in Day of the Daleks.
Yeah. I don't remember him meeting himself, period.
He saw himself. He looked
He
at
saw
himself.
himself. Seeing yourself and meeting yourself are two different things.
I thought they made eye contact. Which
Even
would be-
so, that's still not fully meeting yourself.
Just seeing yourself.
Grant-
Meeting yourself as in the
granted,
Brigadier
all that
actually touched
said-
himself and things went boom.
Now, granted, all that said, a Time Lord breaking the first law of time is not quite as bad as a human doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although Gallifrey would tend to slap you silly if it happens.
Yeah, but
Unless, of course, they really need it to happen on their
a
own
season
terms.
later, they'd be begging him to do it. So
Yep.
As long as there's actually a Gallifrey there to actually impose that law.
But yeah, this is the same stuff that gets muddled up in Time Crash. It's the same stuff. I don't know. Was there in
Pandora
Angels Take
opens.
Manhattan? Was there another bootstrap paradox
in Angels Take Manhattan, there were a few different types of paradoxes.
simultaneously?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that Rory was there and died of old age, and then they undid that, is in of itself a
Rick-
paradox.
Not just that. There's a few other things that they did too. It
River,
was like
River goes back in time to the oldest writing in the universe so that she can create it, so that it can inspire her to go back and write it, so that she can create it, so that it can inspire her to go back and create it, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah,
Or
River
mostly
Song
because
making another
she's
paradox.
River
That never
Song.
happened before.
My
she's-
point.
she-
My
she's
point is
River
that's
Song
another.
and she can on the laws
One of
physics.
you at a time,
my,
please.
My point is that's another use of Moffat, you putting the same mechanic into the story.
Mm-hmm.
One at a time. Should we start making
Oh,
people raise
hold on.
hands?
The climax of the Big Bang is all about a bootstrap pair. Is it kind of? Yeah. They follow through with the Doctor's idea because the Doctor went through and told them to. But if the Doctor hadn't gone back and told them to, he never would have been able to have the idea, and there never would have. That loop never really has a start either.
Which one is that?
The one where
Big
the
Bang.
Doctor tells Rory to free him from the Pandorica.
Okay. And really, kind of isn't season 6 the same way? Although he kind of then proceeds to go sideways on that one, with the doctor having them all meet to watch himself get killed.
Yeah.
So basically, Moffat can write one type of time travel, and I hate it.
It's the kind of time travel that makes your brain ache and you hate it. Whereas we get the brain ache and we're like, ooh, I feel smart.
I'm intelligent.
Just because it bugs you, Mr.
Yes,
Brains.
it bugs me. It bugs me because bootstrap paradoxes are horrible writing.
Well, that's your opinion.
That's your opinion, yeah.
I mean, it depends. If you're writing for a serious story, it's horrible writing. If you're writing for a dumb comedy, it works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it so much in Bill and Ted.
Like, I'm pretty sure if I think hard enough about it, Hitchhiker's Guide probably has a bootstrap somewhere in it.
Oh, but Hitchhiker's Guide
comedic.
probably has several by now, I think.
Yeah. Like, it's comedic, though.
So, yeah.
Time Masters by Renee Lalo, which is an animated sci-fi movie, also has, I think, what would be considered a bootstrap paradox in it. Young boy is injured seriously in the head. An old man picks him up and takes him to the Time Masters to heal him, and the young boy turns out to be the old man.
The time travel episode of My Little Pony, where Twilight receives a warning from herself, warning her not to do something.
Yeah,
so
I've seen that one.
So that inspires her to go back in time to warn herself not to go back in time to warn herself not to go back in time to warn herself.
The thing is that
I think there was one in Dexter's Lab, too. Although, by using that reference, Bill, are we to assume then that you are a brony?
Yes.
Sure.
Join us. You could join us on the horse riding MMO.
I will pass.
Although I would still invite anybody to join me on Gary's mod. Gary's mod is fun, by the way.
We really aren't supposed to be talking about MMOs because we've got about 5 minutes left.
Yes, technically speaking. So we should be...
Yeah, so let me try and get my point out of the way real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And this is to people that, mainly people that are aspiring to write something, whether it's Doctor Who or anything at all. And that is, this is a perfect episode where you can see how, even though Moffat is not a misogynist writer to the point where he's intentionally alienating women or anything of that nature, it's pretty clear example of several things not to do. Things this episode is the main thing that I've seen this episode draw criticism for is Kathy's relationship, and it's not really deep enough for me to back that full-heartedly, but I can kind of see it, which is where the guy pretty much says he's going to annoy her until she accepts him, and then next thing we know, she's married him. Now, obviously, we don't see what happens in between, so I'm not going to say that's necessarily a stalker thing, but it can be interpreted that way, and some people do take offense at that. And then there's the end, which is essentially Sally fills up her purpose in the plot and then decides, okay, now that I'm done with the plot, I can get together with the nearest man. And again, it's not intended to put women in their place or anything stupid like that, but it's an example of not knowing how to write that in an actual way that makes sense for human characters. And with the current atmosphere of just the way, the way fiction is and the way it's interpreted and, how the internet's working now, it's really a good way to draw the wrong kind of pissed off attention at essentially making this a side character who pretty much fulfills what the Doctor needs of her and then gets hitched to the first guy that comes around.
Well, the first guy that comes around was a guy that she's already been kind of unofficially hitched to for like the last year, apparently, according to on-screen text.
And 5 minutes earlier, she had no romantic interest in him. It's just a shop. That's not even 5 minutes. It was probably like 2 minutes.
That was more of a case of self-denial.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking too.
And by the way, does
it's still
anybody
badly
notice
written.
that Larry Nightingale was kind of a proto-Rory?
Sort of, yes.
Yeah.
He did look like a
now
proto
the show
Rory.
seems that much less original.
At least he wasn't stupid enough to get himself
Albeit,
killed.
in
Want
this
to
one's
elaborate
defense,
on that?
Aaron, this came first.
Want
That
to
would
elaborate
mean
on
Rory's the XB, not Larry.
He looked a lot like Rory, and he had some of the same reactions as Rory.
Some of the same mannerisms, yes.
Do I want to elaborate? I'll elaborate in that it seems like every time we go back and look at some of these episodes, especially some of the ones from like season 3,
You mean every
maybe
time
season 4?
every time we look at something Moffat wrote, we realize that something that he wrote later on was derivative of it? Is that what you're trying to
Yeah,
say?
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah,
It feels
pretty much.
that way. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who sees
Es-
that.
Yeah,
And
A little
especially
bit.
No,
here
you're
and
not
there.
the only one that sees it, but I prefer to blame the later stuff rather than the newer
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes.
Because this
Um,
this is the original. It means Rory is the XB, not Larry.
Yeah.
And when we do finally get a chance to talk about Time Crash, which will probably be next week because that's where it fits chronologically, I'm going to go into slightly more detail.
Oh, so
Uh,
expect more Bootstrap Paradox yelling and screaming. Right.
More of you guys screaming about bootstrap paradoxes, and the more of the rest of us just sitting back and going, "Oh, you're confused by bootstrap paradox."
I'm not confused by it. I just think it's bad writing.
Yeah.
And we think
Because
that you
it's
have your
just
own opinion, we
lazy
have our
writing,
own.
Because it means that the MacGuffin never is really created. It just comes into existence because of the paradox.
I just think it's neat. Isn't there a term for that, where with the fruit flies that magically appear in a jar? Back in the old times, back in those old experiments.
No, I don't.
What?
Spontaneous generation, isn't that what it's called?
Possibly. It would be a correct term for it.
It would definitely be a proper term for it, yes.
That's how Time Lord science works.
Ta-da!
Actually, that's how Time Lord communication cubes are created, at least in one story.
Kind of, sorta.
Ha-ha!
Yes, it is called spontaneous generation. Abiogenesis?
It's also called greatly defying the laws of thermodynamics.
Yes, considering the fact that mass cannot be created or removed, only transferred.
How do you know?
But shouldn't
It's
we like
one of
be
the
thinking
frickin'
on-
laws of physics, Matt.
If things,
Do a
if,
physics
thi-
class.
if things can be spontaneously generated, that's proof that the mass of the universe is increasing, and proof that it is condensing rather than expanding. Because if it's increasing in mass, that means it's condensing, and we will all die eventually.
That
And-
depends on it. If mass is being created and expanding, the density of the universe is remaining constant.
It
Yes.
also depends on what dark matter is and dark energy. If we can figure those out. Because we know that the universe is expanding very, very fast. And we know that it's being pushed along by dark matter.
And we've just caused the entire audience's collective heads to implode. Well done, everyone! Now, for final thoughts!
I'd like to think that any audience that would listen to a group of people talk about a sci-fi show for hours on end is smart enough to at least sit through our conversations.
How many of you are watching the stream?
I believe...
I'm not.
I am watching it, and I'm also watching Dragon Ball Z porn.
Thank you, Aaron. I didn't need that. But I'm watching. Aaron's watching, and he's watching.
Technically, I am not watching, although I am observing it from a different place, which is why I don't count.
You're not counting on the numbers.
Yep.
Because last I checked, we had 3, which means if it's me and Aaron, there was one additional watcher.
There's
I
2
was
now,
too.
so yeah.
Additional watcher, does that make it Wesley?
Oh, there's 2 now, which means we lost the
Oh wait,
additional
hang
watcher.
on, I didn't sign in. God
Why is
darn
it
It doesn't
every
matter
time
if you're signing in or not, you're technically counting as someone watching.
Why is
Aaron.
it every time we see these people they turn to stone? Are they angels?
Our watchers are angels! Beware!
We're being watched by the weeping angels.
Or boo.
Anyway,
Either one works.
So,
Final
let's go to
thoughts.
final
We were
thoughts.
going to go into like 15 minutes ago, I think.
almost.
Shall I do final thoughts? I'll volunteer
Yes, let's
final
start with
thoughts. Final thoughts. I think you guys nitpick too much. In general, I honestly, I just find the whole bootstrap thing of nitpick. I still find this to be mostly a character piece about people having to do something in order to save the Doctor, while the Doctor can't be directly involved because of circumstances. To which, considering the fact that the title character is not in it, but at least actually features somewhat in it, all considering, this is a pretty darn good standalone episode for people who for people who want an episode that doesn't always have to have the Doctor in it 100% of the time.
It's worth mentioning this is what the third Doctor Light episode in the 50 years of the show. The first
Technically,
one,
yes.
The first one being in season 3, the second one being in season 28.
Yeah. Yeah, technically, yes.
No, there was a couple other Dr. Light episodes.
Oh?
Yeah.
Oh, well, technically...
They weren't Dr. Light story arcs.
Okay, so you're saying serials that were not Doctor Light, but had Doctor Light episodes within them.
Yes.
Correct.
Like episode 3 of the 10th Planet.
I was just gonna say 10th Planet had a Dr. Light episode.
Yeah, and I think either Rise of the Cybermen or Seeds of Death had one too, where the Doctor vanishes due to something in episode 2 and comes back in episode 4 because he was on vacation. Because the actor was on vacation, I should say.
Can't remember for sure off the top of my head, but aside from that, I think overall the story is pretty good. Yeah, there are some questionable things about some of the characters, but I think that's just stuff that wasn't well represented while being off screen, or just not. I think it's more of a writing issue in a very, very minor sense, and normally it can be breezed over. Cinematography was pretty good. I liked where they were at least starting with the angels. The problem is where they went with it after this, but I'll count that against other episodes, not this one. I think I more or less said my piece.
Okay. Bill?
Superficially, this is a very good episode. If you scratch the surface, there are a lot of things that can be dug up. Putting too much emphasis on them is a bit unfair, just because. Actually, that's kind of. I think I just summarized the entire Moffat era with that, but I mean, it can't entirely be judged on its mistakes, but nor can they be completely ignored. So altogether, I'd say it's a well put together episode that has enough issues to keep it from being a great episode to me.
Okay. Aaron?
I really enjoy this episode. It's part of the group of episodes that kind of drew me in further into the new Who's series. I wasn't that impressed with Eccleston's run, so I kind of dropped out after I think about the 4th episode or so. I didn't really bother watching it after that.
So right before it got really good, because I don't think you had seen Dalek yet by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, she apparently dropped out with the farting aliens, which is by far a low point of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even Russell T Davies admits those were a mistake. That's why they went to the kiddie show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, it was, I got drawn back in by everyone talking at the GeekCon meetings about how I needed to see Blink, and so I watched the first few episodes, and I watched Blink, and I was like, oh, hey, and then I continued watching through Utopia, and I think it was everyone was doing the drumming, actually, the drumming sound, like Sarah, our friend Sarah, and a few other people, they were doing the drums, because I think by then everyone was on to Utopia. They'd already seen Blink, moving on to Utopia and stuff, so it was pretty cool. I really like it. I kind of wish that Sally Stroud had gotten her own series. I think it could have been interesting. Maybe just a few short, 1-hour movies or something like that, specials. But that's my opinion.
Just bring her back, yeah.
Okay, Tim?
This is one of my favorite episodes, and I don't really see it as time paradoxes. Is just an example of a stable time loop that beats itself. But I remember watching this episode for the first time in a bar. So this was like one of my first experiences of Doctor Who. So it's a good episode for newbies. I believe, and also I think this is the best Doctor Light episode, and I wish the competition for that was
A little bit
stronger.
higher. Yeah.
So you,
Stronger.
its competition is pretty much turn left.
It's about the only other bit of competition, yes.
Okay, so my turn. I'm having kind of an Asylum of the Daleks moment here, where the first dozen times I watched this episode, before I was a critic, I loved this episode to death. But now that I'm actually looking at the episode and breaking it down into its components of writing, directing, cinematography, etc., I'm finding things that are tarnishing the episode, in my opinion. So it's kind of lost some of its oomph for me.
I believe that's everybody, isn't it?
Yep. So let's go to points. Matt, you went first, so you give your score.
I'm kind of in between, so my usual flip a coin.
Can we just
And I'll go with 3.5. It's above average, but it's not quite up to par of 4.
Wow, so you basically described it as a 5, and then you're going to go with...
No, I didn't say it was a 5. I said that it was pretty good. I didn't say it was perfect. I said it was pretty good.
Okay. Bill.
Well, now I'm in a bind because I was going to go with 3.5 because it was an okay episode that was well put together, but with way too many problems for a 4. But now this guy that keeps saying that we're nitpicking it way too much also gave it a 3.5. So I almost feel like I should lower it. But
give it your points based on your own merit, not on Matt's.
Yeah, I think.
Stop basing everything off of me, Bill.
I know.
Make up your mind.
Matt doesn't follow logic. So
I follow chaos theory.
So I'm going to stick with the score I was going to have and give it a 3.5.
Okay. Aaron.
How high do we go? We go up to 5?
Go up to 5 as the maximum.
Out of 5.
I'm gonna give it a 4, just because of the nostalgia factor. I can overlook the whole bootstrap paradox problems that a lot of people have, along with some of the cinematography. I just really enjoy it.
All right, Tim.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Ooh.
Half.
He's making up for my half.
Yes, I'm deducting a half for the aforementioned nitpicks. You know, it makes me realize that it's not a perfect episode, it's just a really, really good one. But I still like it enough to give it a 4.5.
Okay. Prior to tonight, I would have probably given this episode a 4 or a 4.5. But after discussing with you guys, looking at those little cinematography things that I think kind of aren't as good as they could be, and the whole writing issue that brought up with the bootstrap paradox, I'm going to have to knock it down to 3.5 myself.
Actually, I'm not. I'm now starting to rethink even tossing the coin. I'm wondering if maybe I should push it up to a 4. Because the nitpickers are going way higher than I thought they would. Because you nitpick so hard. I'm thinking.
Like I said, this was not my favorite episode. I liked the previous 2 episodes a lot better than I liked this one.
Right.
So while everybody was going on about it, I was like, yeah, it's a good episode. It's a good horror episode. But I didn't think it was great. And now with I'm looking at the writing and stuff, it's kind of hurting it a little more.
I think you're just too nitpicky.
I'm a critic. Bite me.
I'm a critic too, and I actually make videos about it.
So
I
are you
like what I
changing
like, and I stick to my guns.
are you changing your score, Matt, or are you sticking with your honest decision?
I was just going with chaos theory, technically.
That's a critical way of looking at things.
I'm sorry, Matt. I can't call you a critic if you decide your score by the coin flip.
Yeah, I have to say that I would probably prefer 4, to be honest.
All right, so let me
So
change
spec of the coin flip, yeah, it's a 4.
let me change the average then.
Not perfect, but I'd still say it's above average.
So that puts us at a 3.9 out of the 5 of us.
Okay.
Which
And that
still
changes
labels
us-
it above
That
average.
changes us from three people agreeing on the lowest to me and Randy being the outliers on the bottom, with Tim being the outlier on the top, and Aaron being dead center.
With
Aaron
me.
and Matt
God, if
being
there was
dead
more of us, you
center.
could throw out the bottom and the top score and average the rest. It's what they do in the Olympics.
If we threw out
If-
the bottom and the top score, it would probably be about the same because it was pretty much an even distribution there. There was there was a slight lean toward a slight lean toward 3.5. So that actually no, yeah, there was only one 4.5. So if we did that, that would lower the score then, because then we'd have.
I'm not saying we should do that. That's what you do if you got like 7 people.
Let's see. Let me see what that would. That would be 11.5 divided by 3. Then we'd have a 3.833 reference average. So
it only change it by at less than a point.
By
Less than a tenth of a point.
It would change it by 0.0666666666.
Yeah, we got it, Bill. There was a reason I said less than a tenth of a point. I didn't need the Mr. Spock connotation.
Mr. Spock or Data, you make the call.
And by the way, when you see that, it's best to actually say 0.06 repeating.
I know. That's what I felt Spock or Data would have said. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you are not Zachary Quinto. You
And
can't Spock. Nor can you slice people's heads open and eat their
Zachary
brains.
Quinto is not Spock either. He is fake Spock.
I don't know. I can buy him a Spock.
And on that bombshell,
No,
good
no,
night, everyone.
When I see him on the bridge, my first thought is, "Oh my God, he's going to peel open somebody's forehead."
I was like that the first part of the first movie. The second he put on the blue uniform, it clicked with me and he became Spock.
It doesn't help that the second show I saw him in, he was also a killer.
Good night, everybody.